A little about me, that too. A little about me. I'm also a research analyst at MiraCosta, and I support our district-wide efforts. So projects that don't quite completely fit into things like career and technical ed or student equity or student support, those are the ones that I usually handle. And I also handle the analysis of the guided pathways, dashboards, and analysis. Outside of work, I am the product of Saddleback College. I have worked in the community colleges for years. I started out as a classically trained musician, which basically means I'm qualified to sing along with cartoons and Bohemian Rhapsody really well, but that's about it these days. I also took up archery a few years ago. I'd like to say I'm a competitive archer, but that requires one to be consistent in hitting the targets, and I haven't quite done that yet. So while my Olympic dream is not yet dead, it's going to be a while before I'll be there. But enough about us. We've talked a lot here. Let's talk about our group itself. Maybe. Okay, I don't know if that's working, Lisa, or not. I'm just going to make it up as I go. Initially, the three of us had a conversation about what we would like to see. Thank you. What we would like to see for this group. But ultimately, that decision is really yours, how this group evolves. Our initial thoughts were that we want to dedicate this to those working in the community college system. However, we don't want to limit it to that. So if you know of somebody at another institution or even another industry who you think might benefit from these conversations, please, by all means, invite them. Everybody is welcome. Given the size of the state of California, we are probably going to be virtual almost all the time. The only exception to this potentially is having a meetup during one of the conferences, either Tableau conference or one of the California statewide conferences, where we can actually see each other face to face and not in a Zoom window, which would be very strange for most of us. If you miss a meeting, not a big deal. We are now recording all of our meetings, and they are going to be available on our CCC TUG page. That is at usergroups.tableau.com. If you have not signed up for that site, I highly recommend you do so. It allows you access to all of our prior content, as well as upcoming dates and information about our upcoming meetings. I'm going to try and hit the next page, and it's not going. Maybe.
If it's not working, Kim, I'll control it for you.
Okay, I thought it was. Our bigger vision and goals of this group is ultimately, first and foremost, to develop a support network. We've all sat in front of our computers thinking, okay, I want to do this in Tableau, but I have no idea how to accomplish it. That's what this group hopefully can be, because the people that you're asking for assistance on a particular problem hopefully already know your data very well and likely have had similar challenges on their own campus. So being able to have somebody knowledgeable that you can reach out to at any time is enormously helpful. We also have a number of different initiatives and projects that get sent our way. All of us at our own colleges kind of doing our own thing. If there are times where we can share the workload and perhaps collaborate on some of these projects, I think that would be enormously helpful, particularly if your office is one that doesn't have a whole lot of bandwidth. There are a lot of resources out there so that you don't have to feel like you're completely alone. If you want to build things from scratch, by all means, go ahead and do it. But if you'd like some assistance from others or would like to collaborate with us, we absolutely want to encourage that. MiraCosta has a series of Tableau templates on various projects and initiatives that have been coming down the pike that we're happy to share at any time. If you have some that you'd like to share, we would love to see them as well and share links to that information for others to use as well. And ultimately, we want this to be a space to discuss specifically data related to our colleges and data visualizations. This is very different from our regional groups. I'm one of the co-leads for the San Diego Imperial County Regional Group. And the conversations that we have there are much broader than just data and data visualizations. So we see a world where those two groups are peacefully coexisting. There's no real overlap between those. So let's go on to the next one. So sorry. Okay, our meeting structure. We're thinking this, again, subject to your approval and feedback, is we'll start with an update from the Chancellor's office. If there's anything new related to data that's coming our way, we want to know about it. From there, we're going to transition into a presentation, either from within our own community or from the outside, of somebody who is doing something new and different or has found a better way or approach. So it's a learning opportunity for all of us. From there, we want to give everybody a chance to show off what they're doing. Now, while we love to see dashboards, we don't have to limit it to dashboards. So if you've designed a prep flow or a calculation or developed a new chart that you think that you want to focus on and share with the group, please don't hesitate. We have a number of different ways to sign up for different opportunities. We're going to be putting the links while we're talking here, and then we'll have links at the end to sign up for these different activities. And the last piece of this is something that we're still working out the finer details on, but we really want to have a Tableau doctor type of session live and in the meeting. So if you have a project that you're interested in getting assistance on, letting us know ahead of time, we can do some research on the issue, and then hopefully as a group resolve that issue while we are all here. Because if somebody is having a challenge with something, odds are good that with 150 people and 88 people here today, there is absolutely more than a few that are probably dealing with the same challenges as well. I'm going to try. Okay, we have thrown a lot of information at you very quickly, but did we miss anything? Are there elements that you'd like us to add to this new effort on our part? If you'd like to tell us in the chat, please do so. If you'd like to come off mute, say hi and let us know that something that you'd like us to add, please do. Or if you'd like to email us, we have our own email, CCC Tableau User Group at gmail.com, and that's good anytime. So if you think of something later, please let us know. But does anybody have any ideas here? Okay. If there's nothing, oh, Christopher, yes.
Sorry, I'm on my phone. I wasn't able to get to my computer, but
No worries.
so I know you mentioned earlier that you have a different group that's out in San Diego that deals with issues at a different level. But I was in a meeting maybe a couple of weeks ago, and someone apologized to say, and they prefaced their comment by saying, you know, I know data, and because they're looking at me, they said, I know you what you live in is data, but data is not always what we need to make decisions, right? And they were referring to sometimes this experience and things you've been doing, you can use that. But I'm wondering, as a group, we can get at as we show off the business or the problem sets that we're working through, is to have a somewhat, not a very broad conversation, but a conversation about how to make sure that the decision makers are looking at this not just as some neat tool or some set of data, but in a critical component of any decision making that's going on. And that this is the platform, but to get them to see deeper than just the platform of Tableau itself. Because sometimes Tableau gets almost minimized in that way. Oh, it's just a cool viz or a dashboard to show off, but it's not that. It's just the mechanism by which we're showing you the data, but it's much more than just that. So I think it might be useful to the group to have maybe short, but those conversations be somewhere interspersed in between in these meetings.
So focusing less necessarily on the tools we're using, but the conversations and best practices on how end users may interpret the data, how they're using it to implement programs. Is that kind of the direction you're thinking?
Yes, and I know it's called Tableau User Group, so I know we have to do focus on those, the development, the building, that kind of prep flow kind of thing. But
I absolutely think that goes hand in hand with the process of building, because while we love the new toys and the cool things that we can do and the ways we can visualize information, if nobody's using it, that's not of any help to anybody. So I wholeheartedly support that. Thank you. Hey, Bob.
Hello. Love what you're doing. Glad you got this together. Thank you very much to everyone involved. My suggestion would be, and I've been working on this for a while, but it's fits and stops. So like I said, hopefully a group can make better use of this. We all do MIS. It's a common data set that we all have. It's formatted the exact same way, and it's used in almost everything we do. And what I would like to see is a set of, something I've been getting into lately is the trying to get into, is the accelerators. There aren't that many for higher ed, unfortunately. But the concept, right, is that they're basically pre-made dashboards, and all you have to do is format your data set in the same way, and then it produces some useful dashboards, which you can tweak afterwards or whatever, right? But I've been trying to format the admissions funnel that accelerator that's out there, but it occurred to me that for us, MIS is this common data set. And very often, right, we have to wait a year for the CO to kind of finish their calculations when it's there as soon as we submit our MIS data, right? So whether that's in collaboration with the state or we just do it all for each other, like I said, just some dashboards where literally what I want is for people who don't even know about Tableau, just to be able to drop their CSVs somewhere, and then their data gets put into dashboards, right? And that, and the data is processed in a way that it matches what goes up on, Launchpad, all those other metrics. We use it quite a bit for SCFF, right? And that's really I think where a lot of colleges are struggling. So if we could, the sooner we can get that data, like for example, the degree data is due when? September 15th, right? But we won't know the final, a lot of colleges have to wait until December or whenever they release that first set of numbers, right? To figure out what their SCFF number is going to be. So if we can just have it so that as soon as you submit the data, you can drop your referential data set into a dashboard, and then you know the number. That would be super helpful, I think. So that's one of the things I would like to see this group do.
Absolutely. I think that's fantastic. Lisa, do you want to add anything on that one? Because we've done something similar here.
I was to say, we've kind of created something like that where we take our referential file and kind of artificially compute the SCIF metrics. So maybe that's something we can work into creating a template. And someone else in the chat had mentioned creating a kind of a repository for all this stuff. I think that's a great idea. Perhaps it's something that we host in our Gmail Google Drive, where we have, we start putting all these resources together and everyone just has access to that drive and they can go in and download things like that.
Thanks so much. Let me see. Okay, great. I don't know if Lisa did that or I did that, but it worked. Now I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Cooper, who's going to give us a quick update from the Chancellor's office. And thank you so much for joining us on this first effort.
Yeah, happy to be here. It's nice to see some new faces, some folks I don't know, but also some familiar faces, folks who've been around for a bit. So hi. I'll keep the Chancellor's office updates really short because I know folks are going to have some good conversations, talking about dashboarding and specifically using Tableau. So a couple things. One, as Bob just said, submissions just finished up for spring for MIS. And so thank you to all of you who are actively involved. I won't shame the couple of colleges that are still late, but if you ever wonder why it takes us so long to get data back to you, it's partially your colleagues' fault. I'm just saying. We're really looking forward to having the program awards and also the financial aid data shortly, since all of that stuff has that trickle down into creating some of the metrics like the student-centered funding formula metrics and what have you. You'll also be seeing some memos coming from our office in the next couple of weeks. I know a couple of things have gone out on the CISOA listserv for SB 34, so CCC ID. You'll be seeing something coming out a little bit more specific around that really shortly. And if you haven't been hearing John Hetz and Dr. Valerie Linder-Wagner talking about some of the changes we're trying to make to CCC Apply and the coming soon proposal for a new unified ERP, those are going to be coming soon as well. Hopefully you all saw the email, or many of you saw the email that went out to CISOA, and then also the RESPL all, which I just love to say every time, listserv, basically asking for help in responding to what are the needs for that ERP. So if you didn't see that, let me know, or I think we pushed it out to both the RESPL all and then also the RP listserv. So just check back on those for a little bit. But since we are here to talk about Tableau, I did want to just talk about the fact that the Chancellor's Office is also a Tableau user. However, mostly it's internal. What I will say, just data-wise, it's a little bit challenging. I heard somebody mention earlier the diving board, or it's actually the launch board. And some of the data sets behind that are really, really large. We've been working with Sarah and Sarah Birch and our Tableau consultant, Dennis, to try to see if we could, do stuff with the launch board in Tableau. And it's huge. I don't think I really appreciated it coming from a college, from Sierra College, for those of you who weren't aware, just how big the Chancellor's Office data set is. And something like the CCP, Community College Pipeline data, is nearly 1 billion rows of data by the time we have all the disaggregations for all the regions and all the colleges and all the demographic characteristics. And it's just massive. And so trying to manage that data and making visualizations responsive takes a lot of work behind the scenes. So you talked about earlier, like Tableau Prep. If you're one of the folks who are paying for Prep, I cannot endorse anything, but let me just say, I enjoy using Prep, and I find it useful in my work since I'm not allowed to endorse anything. Final thought, as I said, we're trying to use Tableau internally. We have some plans to do some external dashboarding. We're not quite there yet, but in the spirit of I can't share because other people are sharing, sorry, guess I can't. I was going to share some of the things that we've been working on internally to the Chancellor's Office. Oh, maybe I can now. So I'll go ahead and do that. Thanks. I'm just messing with y'all. So move some things out of the way. One of the limitations, of course, right? We've got Data Mart. We've got lots of data tools that are out there. But there are even some things in Data Mart, like our employee data, that literally just kicks out PDFs. And Chris, I see your question. I'll get to you in a second. So we're trying to visualize it internally so that internally we can have a better sense of what's going on. And so Dennis, our Tableau consultant, colleague of Sarah's, who's been mentioned a couple of times now, helped put this together for us. And so it's just a quick look of what's going on with our employees within a couple of different years. We can look at the statewide, by district, et cetera. And one of the questions that we get asked pretty regularly as we're working with the legislature or other sort of interested parties is basically what's going on with our employees statewide. And so we've got a nice little comparison table where we can look and see what's the change of employees. We've got this by different employment staff, this demographic status, et cetera. So super simple, but also really trying to answer those key questions that folks have, the end users have, and not just like the pretty data, but how can we tell that story of what's happening to our employees, what's happening to the different people who help serve our students. So there it is, one of the things the Chancellor's Office is using behind the scenes in Tableau, and of course, excited to see the user group established. So with all that said, I'm ready to answer a couple questions if they're directed towards me. If not, I'm gonna turn time back over to you so y'all can have good conversations about what you're doing with Tableau.
Eric, I do have 2 questions for you, and if you can't answer them, that's fine. Can you tell us what the thinking is behind the ERP? What do we ultimately hope to accomplish by having a single ERP for the system? And the other thing, there are 2 AB 705 dashboards, one under the I think success metrics data, but there's also another one floating out there, and I can't find the link right now.
Probably the transfer level gateway dashboard is probably the second one you're thinking of.
I think so, and it has some of that DI information in there.
It does. Let me see if I can grab the link for you while we're chatting. But let me see if I can answer that first question. As it relates to the common ERP, a couple things going on. One, some of our smaller colleges, well, I shouldn't say some of, but especially our smaller colleges, often have a challenge with data infrastructure. And as we're getting increasing threats with cyber attacks and those sorts of things, part of the logic that we've got behind it is that in having a common ERP, we can take some of the pressure off of colleges to have really big IT staffing and infrastructure locally. We can help take some of the pressure off. One of the other pieces with that, of course, is, as has been mentioned multiple times now just in this conversation, Chancellor's Office MIS data is not fresh. It relies on sort of multiple pass-throughs And having something like a common ERP allows us, or would allow us, to help answer some questions in more real time and reduce some redundancy in reporting. Potentially we get rid of MIS reporting as colleges onboard. So there are a couple of different ideas behind that common ERP. The plan right now is not to roll that out statewide kind of in one fell swoop. It's actually to do a pilot. All of that is being decided and those decisions are being discussed. But the big kicker with all of it is we don't yet have funding from the state. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing in this budget cycle from the Chancellor's office is putting in that state budget request. As you can imagine, you know, I don't know if there's any IT folks in here, but for a lot of colleges, you know, your banner, your colleague, your PeopleSoft bill is pretty big every year. And if we can pick that up and shift that to the Chancellor's office, we may be able to get some economies of scale and reduce the overall cost to the state, and obviously reduce the cost to the individual colleges. So hopefully that's answering some of your questions. Again, a lot of things are still being figured out, so I don't have all of the details, but that's part of the reason that we sent that survey out last week or the week before, trying to collect those responses from IT folks and others.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we have time for one more quick question. Anisha?
All right, well, what I will do is I'm not sure if everybody froze or if it got quiet, but I'll go ahead and pop my my email in the chat. And so if people have questions, they can send it directly to me, ecooper@cccco.edu, or of course the research@cccco.edu will also eventually find its way to me as well, but it'll also have visibility for the whole research team.
Thank you again, Eric, for stepping in.
Yeah, happy to support.
Thanks. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can button. Does. Okay. Since this is our first meeting, obviously we didn't have a chance to ask people to come in and demonstrate some of their dashboards. So we really quickly, the three of us, are going to demo dashboards that we've built for our own campuses. And it's timely because I was seeing in the chat a discussion related to, the Sankey charts. That's essentially what I'm going to be presenting today. It's an upgraded version of the Sankey chart that we presented at Tableau Day a few months ago, whenever that was. I'm sorry, Lisa, can you hit the next button? It's not going. This is focusing on guided pathways. It follows cohorts of guided pathways over time in their first 7 semesters at the college. It's actually a Sankey funnel, so we see fallout points of where we're losing our students and when. We look at one cohort at a time, and then we subdivide that cohort into part-time or full-time, and then fall starts or spring starts. I built this Sankey funnel based on a Sankey funnel that Ken Flairlage built, and we'll talk about him in great detail and his brother in a couple of minutes. He has a number of different templates out there. I built mine on my own so that I would understand the inner workings of how a Sankey chart worked. Now that I've done that, and I'm pleased to say that I was successful in it, I never want to build one again. And there thankfully is no reason to ever build one again, because there are a number of different resources out there where all you have to do is take your data and replace the data set that's there, and the Sankey charts will build them on their own. So let's try the next page. Thank you. This is a lot. This is our guided pathways Sankey funnel on the semester view. So over on the left-hand side, we have a cohort of students, thank you, demonstrating, a cohort of full-time students starting in fall 19. If you go over just a little bit to the right, you will see spring 20. And so this is what happened to that group from fall 19, what happened to them in spring 20. We had a handful of students who successfully got an award. We had about 16% who transitioned from full-time in their first semester to part-time in their second semester. About 3/4 of them stayed the same. About 4% didn't enroll in spring 20, but we have evidence that they enrolled in some future semester. So we're keeping them kind of in that holding area. And then we had about 7% who stopped out. They didn't enroll for spring 20, and we have no evidence that they ever had any more contact with us at any point in the future. Now, you will notice on those bright blue bars, when you get to the award point, it stops. We did that intentionally. We know that a lot of our students don't stop attending after they earn their award, but when I was starting to draw the lines from those boxes in addition to the other ones, it became far too unwieldy to make any sense to the end user. So we opted to say, you know what, our goal is to get them to that terminal award point. So that's where we're just going to stop off in there, even though we know that the lines typically will continue on. And we have a tendency internally to think, well, okay, these students started full-time, so they're full-time students, and that's what they are. We can see from these lines flowing from one area to the next that there's a lot more movement than we ever anticipated. And so when we start treating or defining characteristics of full-time students or part-time students, we have to understand that there is a lot more flow between those different statuses from one term to the next. As I said, this is a semester view. If you'll click the next button, we also have a cumulative view so that you can see over all the way on the right-hand side, by 7 semesters out, we have about 40% of those full-time students who have successfully earned their award. About 40% stopped out entirely. So that is something that is of concern to the college because we want to reduce the pink part as much as possible. And then we have about 20% of our students from that cohort who are still enrolled in some way 7 semesters later. So on all of our dashboards in the upper right-hand corner, we put all of our filter functionality. That way, when users come to our, oops, sorry, let's go back one. When users come to our dashboards, they know that the filters are all going to be in the same place. They don't have to hunt around for every different dashboard that they see. So when they click that filter, now let's go ahead and do it. A window opens up on the right-hand side that has a number of different filter options for special student populations, where you can drill down to the finest of points necessary to do individual analysis. We did present this to our All College Day population on Friday, and so we have a lot of people who are already digging into a lot of these outcomes. So we're really excited that folks are using it. Now, when I hit the filter button, let's keep it the way it is. I switched the status from full-time to part-time. So now we're looking at the part-time students in a cumulative view. You will notice, remember that with the full-time students, when they transition from fall 19 to spring 20, about 7%, 6 to 7% stopped out in that first semester. When we're looking at our part-time students, and we are talking about students who are degree and certificate seeking, we are losing a third in that first semester after that first term. So that is a point of great interest to a lot of our faculty and staff. And so efforts are absolutely underway to go in and start puzzling the why of this stuff out. And that's one thing to remember with all of our dashboards. They're very good at saying the what is happening. It's the why that's a little more elusive to us. Okay, let's hit it again and again. In this version, we also have next to the filter button, a button that adds an instructional overlay. So if new users are coming to this page, they can see the how do I read this button? And this creates instructions. It tells folks how to interpret what they're seeing. And particularly for folks that are not necessarily as data savvy, this gives them additional functionality and understanding of what they're actually seeing on the page. Let's go to the next one. And finally, we have a summary table for the users that don't want to have to sit and cycle through multiple filters to try and see what's happening. We have, snapshots of different demographic groupings so that you don't have to go through the filters one at a time. So let's go to the last thing. So we have a number of different resources that we are thrilled and delighted to share. The first one is if you like that dashboard and want to put your own data in it, we have a template available for you. If you click the link up at the top, we've got it. We'll be putting it in the chat there. Feel free to download it. I'm available at any time if you have questions about how to replace the data or what's going on. I'm happy to help. Another fantastic resource are the Flair-Lodge twins. If you are new to Tableau and do not know who these men are, they are amazing. They have a great blog, and one of them, I think it's Ken, is former higher ed person. So we are thrilled and delighted to have his level of expertise. And those 3 links are 3 different types of beautiful templates for Sankey stuff that all you need to do is replace it with your own data and it's built. The last set of tools is by Le Data Viz, Tristan Guillavin, who is another amazing Tableau person who has a number of different tools, not only Sankey charts, but also network charts, where again, take your data, plop it in, and suddenly it magically appears before you. So there are a number of different resources out there, in addition to YouTube and Twitter, which is amazing. I never thought I'd say that. Twitter is a resource to find data viz help. These are more great resources to use. So with that, I think I will hand it over to Lisa, who will take over from here.
Yes, thanks, Kim. And we should have mentioned too, please, you all are doing it already, but if you have questions, throw them in the chat. And then we've saved time at the end of all 3 of our presentations for additional questions if you want to come off mute and chat more. But yeah, so the dashboard that I wanted to show you all today focuses on our AB 705 and 1705 efforts, or our remedial education reform efforts. Anyone from outside of California, if you're here, this is essentially assembly bills that said we can no longer use assessment tests. Students have to have access to directly enroll into transfer level math and English courses. So this dashboard was kind of a tall order. We wanted to make sure that we had an executive summary. So someone like our president or VPs or deans could go in and just have a really quick view of what's going on with all of these reforms. So, what % of students are enrolling directly into transfer English and math? We've given them access. Are they enrolling? What are the success rates in those courses? And then also, what is the throughput rate for our transfer level math and English courses? So just kind of a quick view. We also wanted to provide disaggregated data so that folks could go in and really understand what's going on with different groups of students. And then anytime we have student success outcomes, we always try to include a disproportionate impact analysis. So we wanted to include all of these things in this dashboard. And this is the landing page for it. So up across the top, you see those 3 metrics I mentioned in the beginning. So the % of students who are directly enrolling into transfer math and English, their success rate when they directly enroll, and then the throughput rate. So how many are making it through transfer level English and math within 1 year of attempting it. So English is across the top and math is across the bottom. And if we zoom into this math 1 year throughput rate, this is what all of those charts look like. It's a trend, essentially, starting in 15-16, shows the directionality of the trend over time to the most recent year where we have a full year's worth of data. And then it has this band, or a big aggregate number. You can replace any adjective for A in that acronym, but I'll call them a big aggregated number today. And here we can see, in 21-22, 66% of our students were completing transfer math within 1 year of attempting it. And then all 6 of these charts have these little buttons underneath of them that say go to dashboard. This is just a native feature in Tableau. It's a navigation button. So you just drop it in there from the side panel, and then you tell Tableau where to navigate. And in this case, all of these buttons go to another page that looks like this. So this is, again, that math 1 year throughput. We have the overall throughput rate shown again over here on the left-hand side, just so the user has access to it. And then on the right is that disaggregated chart. So I'm going to zoom into that a little bit. And here what we have is the overall rate. So that chart that was on the left-hand side is here in the line, so acting as a reference for the user. And then the individual ethnicity, or whatever group you have selected here, is in the area chart. So this is a trellis chart, or it's also called a small multiple. This has very recently and quickly become my favorite way of showing disaggregated data, because I think when we have, in this case, 9 categories, trying to show all of those trends on one chart gets really overwhelming. It just kind of gets like this big spaghetti looking chart where you can't really pull out different groups very easily. So I really like this view because you can see what's going on with each individual group and compare it to the overall rate. And in doing it like this, I think there are some pretty obvious groups that need our attention. It should stand out to people that our Black students and our Latino students are well below the overall throughput rate in every single year that we're looking at data. And so a chart like this really, I think, helps to highlight things like that. You'll also notice that this chart doesn't have any data labels on it, but there is another level, we'll say, to this chart. So if you look up here in the top left, it says click on a data point to zoom in. And this is where I'm going to mention one of those Flairlagians again. You're going to notice if you continue to come to our meetings, that Kim and I are Flairledge twin groupies. So Kevin Flairledge, so not the Sankey twin, Kevin Flairledge has a blog post about how to make a trellis chart zoomable so that when you click on a data point, it actually zooms into that specific category. So it brings that up and you can add extra level of detail. So in this case, we've added in the data label. So you get kind of a more detailed, more nuanced view when you click on it, and then you click on it again and it zooms out. So like I said, those Tableau twins are very helpful and they can help you kind of create things like this on your campus. So the other thing we wanted to include whenever we have this disaggregated data, like I mentioned before, was the disproportionate impact analysis. So up here in the top right, we have that show DI button. Again, this is just a native feature in Tableau. This is a show hide button. So you'll notice whenever you plop a chart or a container or literally anything onto your dashboard, you have the option to add a show hide button. So that's all this is. And when the user clicks on this, it shows this chart, which is a view that we tend to use for our percentage point gap, or that's how we measure DI typically within the California community colleges. So we used to show percentage point gap with all of the bars, all the data labels, kind of every single level of detail that we thought the user would want. And it turned out they didn't really care about that. So really all our users tend to be interested in is a group hitting disproportionate impact? Are they hitting that threshold to experience disproportionate impact? So we feel like a chart like this just kind of highlights those trends really easily. Again, it should pop out really quickly that, yeah, those two groups that we highlighted on the previous slide are in fact hitting that threshold for disproportionate impact. And this is a problem, right? This is data that, you know, we give to our student equity department and to our faculty to say, hey, these are the groups that need our attention. And they're working on now, you know, fixing these gaps or closing these gaps so that we don't see such large disparities. Because while throughput is going up for all of these groups, it's not going up at the same rate for some of our students of color. So that is my, yep. Oh, sorry. We have some resources. So that trellis chart that I showed you, this first link is a really great video by SQL Bell. It goes into a lot of detail on how to create this chart and why these calculations are working. So I really like it to kind of understand what's going on with this chart because a lot of the table calcs get really confusing to me. And then Andy Kriebel also has a video where he jumps right into building the chart. So it's a little bit faster, a little quick and dirty to get the chart up and going more quickly. And then that Kevin Flairledge blog post that I talked about making that chart zoomable. Okay, so I am now going to turn it over to Sam. She's going to demo one of their dashboards.
Thank you, Lisa. So for San Bernardino Valley College, which I know there's multiple Valley colleges, but I'll probably end up just saying Valley throughout this. So San Bernardino is very new to working with dashboards. Before I started, we were working with static PDFs, right? And so when we released all these publicly available dashboards to the campus, we wanted to be very intentional about how we introduce them. We didn't want to just let them run loose and not understand how to use the data or even how to use the dashboards themselves to grab that data and look at it, right? So the dashboard I'm going to show you today is, it's actually it's more of a quiz, but I called it a Tableau tutorial, right? And so, oh, hang on, I think I went too far forward. Just trying to get it to work. Okay, so this right here is just a quick picture of our website, right? So like I said, we're trying to be very intentional about what dashboards are and how people on our campus can use them. And so this right here, the very first thing that people will see is the definition of a data dashboard. And then also this tips and tricks is a one-page infographic that I made that just goes over very basic things like filters and tool tips and things like that. And then this button right here will take you to the dashboard I'm actually going to show you right now. And then this is the bottom of that website, right? So in spring, we worked with professional development to have a presentation at Convocation Week, where I just went over all the dashboards that are available to people on campus and some basic general examples that people could use. And so we wanted to go to each division and actually work with them individually to say, okay, for your specific role, this is what you can do with dashboards. So our professional development team, it's one other person, we went to every division on campus in the spring semester. We called that the World Tour, which is very fitting because Tableau's little mascot is a data rock star. And so we went on our world tour, we introduced the dashboards to our entire campus, and we've gotten some positive feedback. We've also gotten some feedback about how the dashboards could be changed to meet their individual needs, right? And other dashboards that might help them make more planning decisions later. And so this is the just introduction to the dashboard. So when you go to the dashboard, this is where you'll land. And so it just, again, introduces what this is and how this can be used, what a dashboard is, and then how to actually go through here. And so up here, I have 3 different scenarios, and each one of these scenarios actually takes us back to a dashboard that's publicly available that they can use, and it will quiz them. So this next one, this is scenario 1. This is just one chart from our demographics dashboard. And so this scenario really just has them get familiar with using one filter at a time, right? And so here, on each one, I included hints just in case people needed help kind of getting to the correct answer, right? And so that's just a little GIF of that. This is scenario 2. So this is a snapshot of our certificates and degrees awarded dashboard. And so here, this one has them get really familiar with intersectional data, right? So looking at gender and race at the same time, using multiple filters at once. And so this one will show you what it looks like when they actually go and try to check their answers, right? So I didn't actually go through any filters here. I knew the answers beforehand, so I just kind of went and put them in. The user can check their results and see, okay, I got number 1 wrong, so let me go back and fill it out. And so the difference between the 2 answers there, that this one also gets the users comfortable with the definitions on the dashboard, making sure that they're looking in the right spot, right? So how many students received, so it's a word count versus head count, things like that. So just getting them really, really comfortable and confident with these dashboards before they start using them in their actual work, right? And then this is just a quick picture of scenario 3. I don't have a GIF for this one or anything, but this one it's a little bit more in depth in that the user has to use the tooltips by like hovering over the charts to grab more data from it to see a little bit more detailed information. And so, yeah, that is what I wanted to show you all today. So here are some resources that I used for that. And so, yeah, the top 2 are from Tableau's website, and then this third one is from an outside blog, TAR Solutions. And so if anybody has any questions, oh, I went too far forward. Oh, hang on. Okay. If anybody has any questions about any 3 of our dashboards, we have about a minute or 2 to answer them. You can put it in the chat or unmute yourself. I think you were
Lisa,
all... Oh, go ahead.
Lisa, in your dashboard, are you able to weight those throughputs by cohort size?
Or sorry, I didn't hear you. Are you able to what?
I said, are you able to weight the throughputs by cohort size?
So we use are you talking about for the disproportionate impact or just
the overall throughput? And what I'm trying to get at is I keep thinking about this data from AB 705, and I know we have higher throughputs, but we also have bigger cohorts where we have a lot more students failing the courses too than we did prior to AB 705. So I'm trying to stop from letting that information get lost in our AB 705 analyses, and I was wondering if we could show that in a dashboard in any way.
That's a good point. So we didn't weight it in ours. We were trying to replicate a lot of the information that the state puts out so that we would kind of be on top of it. You could weight it. We just didn't. But yeah, you could have the ability to do it with I'm sure some calculated fields.
Thank you.
Okay. If anything else comes up, we'll monitor the chat as well to make sure we get your questions answered.
Okay, so next we want to talk about some Tableau community resources that are available. And so this was a question that was put in the chat earlier, and I was trying not to put all of them in the chat at the same time, but we have a lot of learning resources available for all of you. And so the first one I'll talk about are some other Tableau user groups that you can join. So this is not the only Tableau user group that you might find beneficial. There's a larger higher education user group, which is not specific to the California community colleges. It's not specific to any region. It's just specific to higher education. There's also an analytics Tableau user group. There's one for newbies. Oh. So if you, the newbies one would be a really good one for anybody who wants to learn new things, right? And things like that. I don't think they limit it to people who are new to Tableau, but people who just want a refresher of some new things. There's a new Tableau prep user group. I think their first meeting is scheduled in a few weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's also some regional Tableau user groups. These are not industry specific. So the Bay Area, Orange County, and San Diego are the 3 within California that Tableau has available. And again, they're not specific to education, they're just specific to Tableau, right? So you might also find those beneficial for viewing things outside of education and kind of pulling that over and using it for your work. In addition to the user groups, there's also a lot of community projects that you can work on. So these are really great learning opportunities, because what these community projects are is they are projects put on by the community members, right? So these are all run by Tableau users themselves. And what happens is you are provided with a data set and a challenge, and you have to recreate the challenge, right? And so Makeover Monday is, I believe it's run by Andy Kriebel. And so there's his YouTube video. Workout Wednesday is not run by Andy Kriebel, but I believe he has videos on this on his YouTube channel. I might be mistaken about that as well. And then these 2 are weekly. So every week on Monday or Wednesday, you'll be provided with a data set. There's this Back to Viz Basics, which might actually be very good for people starting out with Tableau. So they have projects like build an area chart, build a symbol map, visualize data in a timeline. So it's really specific projects that don't involve a large data set, right? And then there's also one called EduVisors. This one runs monthly, and this one you're provided again with a data set to create your own dashboard, right? And then lastly, some YouTube channels. So Tableau has their own official YouTube channel, which is helpful for a lot of things. And then when I was learning Tableau over this past year and a half, both of these these channels were super beneficial and very helpful. So there's Andy Kriebel, VizWiz, and then Tableau Tim. And so these are not all of the resources that are available, but these are a lot that we think are really helpful. And then next, we have some swag. So Lisa, if you want to do the wheel of names.
Yeah.
So we have 3 25 gift cards to give away to anybody who joined today. Not to everybody, I'm sorry, to 3 out of people that joined today.
So we don't have that much money.
And so we're going to use the wheel of names to choose who these 3 people are. And we want to do it in front of everybody for transparency.
Yes. Yeah, so this is everyone who attended today. Your name should be up here. And if you win one of these, if you could put your email, either send it directly to one of us so we have it, or in the chat so that we can make sure that we get you your gift card.
I'm monitoring the chat. So
Okay, perfect. So Gabriel, congratulations. We're going to spin it again. Oh, that was a close one. Amber McHammer. And then one more. And oh, that was really close, Carolina. So we will get $25 gift cards to the Tableau store to all of you as a thank you for being here today.
Okay, so what's next? So we would like to hear from you. So this is the same link that we had put in the beginning of the meeting. And you may have already completed this survey. So if you remember choosing a logo for like helping us choose a logo that you really like, then you've already completed this. But this survey is going to ask you a little bit about your role with Tableau. And it's going to ask you what you would want to see in future meetings. So specific topics and things like that. And again, if we missed anything, you can always send us an email. And then we'd also like you to get involved. So if you want to present a dashboard, showcase a dashboard, or present what your college is working on, or even just join office hours, you can fill out this Google form that we have here, and we will reach out to you so that we can set up a time for you to either present or showcase, or a time to go over your question during office hours. And then lastly, our next meeting is currently scheduled for Wednesday, October 25th, 2023 at 1 p.m. And the next one is going to be about an hour and a half long, just to account for the office hours and everything, because we always want to spend the last 15 to 20 minutes working on that. And we already have 2 presenters lined up. So we have Christopher Crew from the San Bernardino Community College District. So that's my district. And he's going to be talking about strategic planning and enrollment management. And then we have Patsy Garcia from Bakersfield College, who will be presenting her guided pathway momentum points dashboard during the meeting. So we hope to see you all there, and you can register using this QR code or this link right here. Let me see, do we have that? And then so we've put our email a few times. So if you want to reach out to us, you can email the Tableau user group Gmail, or you can email us directly. So all of our emails are down there. You can also contact Kim and Lisa on Twitter. And I wanted to mention earlier, a lot of the Tableau community projects, they're run on Twitter. So that's why it's such a useful resource. Yeah. Yes, let me put that in the chat. Let me
I just put it in there.
Okay. Oh yeah, Lisa put it in. Okay. And yeah, we just wanted to say thank you to you all so much for coming and making this much more of a success than we ever envisioned. So thank you for coming today and supporting our user group.
I say too, I know we're over time, but if anyone wants to stick around and chat or has questions, Kim, Sam, and I can hang out for a bit if you want to do that.
Yes. And we will be posting the slides, I believe, as well. Yeah. For sure.
Yes, and sorry to anyone who came late, we forgot to start recording the first couple minutes. So you missed us introducing ourselves, but the rest of the content will be recorded and posted on our user group page.
Hi, Lisa. I'm sorry I didn't raise my hand. I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to know, do you guys have, well, I wanted to see what your career education analyst is doing in terms of Tableau dashboards. Is there any way you guys could share, like, are you guys putting like some of the SWP metrics in dashboards, or what are you guys doing for like career education / CTE?
Kim would probably have a better handle on that than I would. And I think both of our CTE researchers had a conflict with this meeting today. Clearly, we did not coordinate well with them. So hopefully they'll do their meetings. But we could definitely connect you as well if Kim doesn't have additional info.
Yeah, okay. I'm looking up. For a while, I was the CTE person, and I know we've built a few of them. We unfortunately don't have any outside access. They're really strict on what we can share, but I am happy to, what I will do is I will look up our different ones and send you screenshots of everything we've got. And then if any of them interest you, we're happy to talk more later about it anytime.
Oh, that's perfect. Now, do you want me to send you an email real quickly?
Yes, please.
Sure.
And I am at KCOU.
Okay.
PTS. At Miracosta, that's M as in Mary, IRACOSTA.edu.
Oh, perfect. So you know what? Lisa just put it in here. I'm going to send you an email right now because, because, I'm often asked to sort of like, well, I have created like a dashboard for SWP funded programs. And then, yeah, they want to be able to see the corresponding metrics. So I've done something really simple. I've done some dashboards for the CTOs, which is, but I kind of want to spruce them up a little bit.
Every time we finish a dashboard, I'll walk away from it for about 15 minutes and I'll come back and I'm like, oh my God, I could totally do that differently and better. I think that's a natural response to that. And I know that the ones that we do have are very rudimentary,
Sure.
but we're happy to share with whatever we've got.
Thank you so much. All righty. Have a good one. Thanks
You
so much
too.
for
Thanks for
organizing
coming.
this. Take care, y'all.
Sure, bye-bye.
Bye.
You guys did an amazing job at this first go around.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Rashmi.
I was like counting. I was like, are you at 100 yet? I think like the last time I looked, you guys were at like 98. So like that's
Oh, we almost.
pretty. You may have gotten past 100, and I missed it. But you guys did an awesome job.
Thank you so much. Thanks for setting such a great example with the HE tug.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna put you guys did a kick, insert whatever A you want there job in the chat, but
Aggregate.
big aggregate job, exactly.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I'm going to stop recording. Thank you again to everyone who was able to come today, and we hope to see you in October.